Hey everyone, welcome to week 7 of our Gifted series as we look at the spiritual gifts that God has given to the church. The spiritual gifts, these are gifts that are found in Romans chapter 12, verses 6 through 8. If you have a Bible, why don't you go ahead and open it and look at Romans chapter 12, verses 6 through 8 as Paul defines the spiritual gifts. Since we have gifts that differ according to the grace given to us, each of us is to exercise them accordingly. If prophecy, according to the proportion of his faith. If service, in his serving. Or he who teaches, in his teaching. He who exhorts, in his exhortation. He who gives with liberality. He who leads with diligence. And he who shows mercy with cheerfulness. So, what are the spiritual gifts? Well, as we've looked at the past 6 weeks, spiritual gifts are gifts that God has given to believers through the Holy Spirit, for the whole purpose, to equip and to build up the church. Because God desires to use the church to reach the world with the hope that God has given it. And so God has given each person in the church a spiritual gift. Spiritual gift that he can use in you to make this world better. So as we've looked at, each gift sort of speaks of God's truths in a different way. And here's how each gift is defined. If you're a gift of prophecy, you are about declaring the truth. Gift of service is practicing the truth. Teaching is explaining the truth. Encouragement is applying the truth. Giving is supporting the truth. And leading is organizing the truth. So what about the gift of mercy? Where does that fall? Well, each gift falls into a category of a verbal or a nonverbal gift, as we spoke in the past few weeks. Some gifts, though, fall into both categories. And this is one of those gifts that the gift of mercy sort of falls into both categories. Some people can be more verbal. They love to be up front, and they're a gift of mercy. Some people are very behind the scenes, and they're a gift of mercy. This is one of those gifts that falls into both categories. So how does the gift of mercy speak of the truth? Well, the gift of mercy is defined as the gift of ministering the truth. Ministering the truth. The word mercy comes from the Greek word that means to be patient and compassionate towards those who are suffering or afflicted. So if you are a gift of mercy, this definition might speak everything about who you are and what drives your being. You love to be patient. You are compassionate towards others. You see suffering and you see affliction. You see all these things and your heart just breaks. You see, God gives some men and women in the church the supernatural ability to empathize and to come alongside those who are suffering physically and spiritually. Some of you, that is just where you lean. You can lean into those people's lives that are really hurting. And you get it. You can feel their pain. You can feel their hurt. You can feel their emotion. That's something special that God has given you, because I can tell you, a prophet like myself, that's not the easiest thing to really feel that. So it's so important to have all these gifts in the church working and functioning. A person with the gift of mercy, a person with the gift of mercy, you're moved by human need. You are moved to heal, to deliver, and to fix. That's what you love to do. Those with the gift of mercy, you're empathetic. You hurt when others are hurting. You live more on your feelings level than most people. You are compassionate. You just have something about your personality and your persona that people love to be around you when they're hurting because they can sense that you get them. That's a gift of mercy. As we've spoken and as we applied each of these gifts to Jesus, Jesus is each one of them. He's gifted in each area of these gifts. In John chapter 12, verses 33 through 35, we see where Jesus goes and he meets with a lady named Mary whose brother Lazarus has just died. And it says there, when Jesus saw her weeping and the Jews who had come with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in his spirit and greatly troubled, and Jesus wept. So Jesus met Mary right there in that moment. I love how Jesus was just there. He was ready to feel her sorrow, to feel her pain. He wept with her. But what I love is that Jesus In this same story, we see Jesus' different giftings. We see to Martha earlier on in this chapter of John chapter 12, Jesus is the prophet to Martha. He speaks to her exactly as she needed him to speak to her in love. She didn't want him to cry with her. She needed him to tell her straight out, hey, I am the resurrection and the life. Nobody gets to the Father except through me. When Jesus says these words to her, he speaks truth to her. And that's what Martha needed. Mary needed a sensitive side of Jesus. She needed Jesus to cry with her, to understand her hurt and her pain. And that's what Jesus does with her. Jesus meets each of us in the place that we need him to. That's Jesus. That's your God. That's your loving Savior, somebody who meets you. Now, in the New Testament, who's our example? I think our best example is the Good Samaritan that Jesus tells the story of. There's a man who was, in Luke chapter 10, a man had been robbed and beaten and left for dead on the side of the road. And a religious Levite, he walks by and he ignores him. Another religious guy walks by him and ignores him. And then you have a Samaritan who should be hating a Jew because the Jews hated them. Walks by, and it says there in verse 32, but a Samaritan, as he journeyed, came to where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion. He had mercy. He had love towards him. And that is a perfect example of somebody with the gift of mercy. It's not that the other people didn't have gifts. The other people were just too stubborn and too focused on themselves and wanted nothing to do with somebody else. But this guy, even though this was totally outside of culture and all those things, they shouldn't have been mixing, but this guy, this Good Samaritan, Jesus used as an example of how to love your neighbor. How to love each other. So the gift of mercy, there's some hazards though that you've got to be careful with. There's some things that you've got to be cautious with in your life. The gift of mercy, you can become a little indecisive. Mercies can be indecisive. You can be tossed to and fro by your emotions. Your emotions can cause you to swing one way or another. And if you're not careful and if you're not in control or you're not aware of your own emotions, you can swing from one thing to another, anger to sadness and all of that. Maybe some of you feel that way. There's nothing wrong with going to get a little help or being more self-aware of how you deal with things. Another thing is you can become a rescuer. Mercy givers can easily allow others to become dependent on them. When the individual should be dependent on God, they often become rescuers of those who do not need to be rescued. You can become that rescuer in every situation where you see somebody, you think you will have their answer always. You can get them out of this always. And that's a hazard that you've got to be careful with as a mercy. Another hazard is you can carry what's not yours. You can carry what's not yours. Mercies are quick to take up others' offenses, which can quickly lead to anger and bitterness. You can carry up, maybe it's something that somebody was hurt, and you can start carrying their hurt, carrying their pain. You can be quick to take those things up, but you have to be careful because it's not yours to bear. That's God's to bear. You got to be quick to give it to God. Another caution, another hazard for a gift of mercy is depression. Because you hear everybody's hurts and pains, and if you're not getting the help you need to be able to, or you don't have an outlet to be able to pour out what's been poured on you, you can easily go into a state of depression. You can easily take on emotions of those who you empathize with, leading you towards a not safe place. So this is a hazard. Remember, this isn't a must, but this is something to be cautious with and to be aware of. Another hazard with the gift of mercy is you can avoid conflict. Mercy givers would rather hide from or ignore conflict than confront it. Because you don't want to offend somebody. You don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. You're worried about who they are and what. And so instead of dealing with the situation that needs to be dealt with, you can sort of hide from it. You can avoid it. You can become introspective. If a mercy falls into this trap, they will wallow in the past offenses, clinging to past bitterness, and dwell on the past mistakes or sins. You can allow things to just sort of stew inside you, and that's never a good thing to be. You can start dwelling on things that you do not need to dwell on. It's really important that you're constantly having time with the Lord and that you're pouring out to God and you're pouring out to somebody else that can listen, that can hear, and that can help you through all the things that you're listening to. God has given you a heart to care and love for others, but then he's brought other people around you to help you make sure that you're caring for your own soul. Another hazard is you can become anxious. Mercies tend to be worriers as a result of focusing on their own failures. So you hear somebody else's things that are going on in their life, and you can almost start putting those things on yourself. You can start looking at your own past and the things that you've done, the things that you shouldn't have done, and you can start carrying a burden that is not meant for you to carry. And you can become anxious and worried and start focusing on all the things of your past that maybe God has already forgiven you from. So you got to be careful. You got to make sure you're handing these things over to God. So here's an overview of those hazards. Indecisive, you can become a rescuer, carrier what's not yours. Depression, avoid conflict. Introspective, and anxious. Anxious. So as you look over these things, so many times I find that as people are figuring out their gifts, they find their gifts in their hazards. They find their gifts in the things that they're like, oh yeah, I do that, oh yeah, I do that, oh yeah, I do that. And they find them. So when you're aware of the things that are your hazards, it can help you become stronger in your gift. Because here's who you are. You are compassionate. You are full of empathy. You are moved by human need. The church needs you. You are attentive. You're watchful over those who are in need or have sorrow or trouble of any kind. You're attentive. You're sensitive, aware of the needs in others, even without them seeing it or saying it themselves. You're fair. You're desiring impartiality and fairness. You're compassionate, feeling the hurts of others as if they are your own. You're gentle. You're gentle. You're soft-spoken, tender, and caring. You're yielding, willing to give way more to a person and to the desires, and you wish that others could just have harmony and peace. You're sacrificial, willing to suffer if it will help another person. That's you. So many good qualities. I know so many times people can speak negatively about a mercy because they think you're too soft. I know as a prophet, that's how I used to think. They're just too soft. But man, we need each other. Mercies and prophets, all these gifts work together to make God's kingdom the best possible. So remember, you are attentive, you're sensitive, you're fair, you're compassionate, you're gentle, you're yielding, and you are sacrificial. That's who you are. So where do you fit in at City View? How does that work for you? Well, prayer ministry. Because you can feel that, and there's so many times where prayer is just really the only thing we can do. Prayer counseling, where maybe somebody's coming to you and you can just pray over them as those times are needed. Premarital counseling. You'll see that a lot of this is like a counseling type of thing, a counseling team. You even see on here I have spiritual encourager, because maybe you're not a professional counselor, and maybe that's something on your heart, but you don't feel comfortable even saying counselor in your definition. A spiritual encourager, somebody who just comes alongside, listens and says, here's what the Bible says. Maybe a new believer follow-up, helping somebody who's a new believer walk through, because, man, sometimes you can beat yourself up as a new believer, but a mercy can come alongside and say, hey, it's going to be okay. We're going to make it. City Kids Special Needs, man. Having kids with special needs can be so hard on parents, and finding a church that is a great fit for them when their kid God has just gifted them with a special child. And gifts of mercy are so key for that. It's so key to be able to come alongside a family and be able to empathize with them and meet them in that need and that hurt. Discipleship and hospital ministry and nursery ministry and City Kids ministry and outreach ministry. There's so many places where you, a gift of mercy, can fit in and make God's home the best home possible. Remember, spiritual gifts are given to equip the church to do God's work on earth. So I want to give you a little understanding of how do these spiritual gifts, how do they all work? What does it look like? As you're trying to figure, okay, I've watched all 7 of these, Jeremiah, and I'm not totally sure on how these work together. I remember my pastor, Pastor Mark, years ago, he used an illustration called the bicycle illustration. As if somebody were teaching another person or a child how to ride a bike. And he said it like this. So if you're a prophet, here's how you would teach or help your child learn to ride a bike. Here's your bike. Get on that bike and ride it. You can do it. Whatever you do, don't fall off. Just go. That's a prophet. Prophet is very straightforward. You're not going to give a lot of guidance. You're just going to say, these are the facts. This is what it is. Here's your bike. Go. And then you have a gift of service. Here's what a gift of service will do. Just a minute. Before you get on, let me fix that seat and make sure it's the right height for you. And let me check the air in your tires. Is it appropriate? Let me check that handlebar, make sure it's straight. Let me adjust these wheels. Let me adjust this and make sure it's ready for you to go. All right, son. All right, daughter. It's ready. So that would be a gift of service. A gift of teaching would go something like this. This is a bicycle. Do you know what a bicycle is? Well, a bicycle is a vehicle with two wheels in tandem, typically propelled by pedals, having handlebars for a steering wheel and a saddle-like seat to sit on. Now, this is how you do it. You sit down and you push the pedals with your feet, balancing your weight like this, and using your hands to steer and to guide the bike in the direction you wish to go. That's a teacher. Do you know those people? Those people that every moment they have, they can try to teach you how to do something. Then you have the gift of exhortation. Come on, you can ride this bike, let's go. Then you would run alongside them, cheering them on the whole way, saying, you got this, you got this. You're gonna be the best bike rider I've ever seen. You're gonna win championships as I stutter over my words. You're gonna do great. That's an encouragement. Giving says this. I've just got to give you your very own bike. This will be a great bike for a long time. If you take care of it, you will get a lot of joy out of this bike. And you know what? If you need better parts for this bike, let me get them for you because I know the pedals aren't the best, so I will buy you the best. That's the gift of giving. And then you have leading. It's time to learn how to ride a bike. Before you start, let's make sure you understand the steps involved. First, you start riding. Then you turn, you lean. Most important thing is to know how to stop. Here are the brakes. Make sure you use them. Now that you know the basics, let's make sure we have a plan on where we're going to go. You see, our goal is to get to destination B. We're here at A, at the house right now. But to get there, we're going to have to go straight. And then we're going to have to make a couple turns. So make sure you follow me so that you know exactly where we're going. That's the gift of leadership or administration. The gift of mercy. Oh, you really need to learn how to bike now. I need to learn how to ride a bike now. I know it can be very scary, and I know you can get hurt. I will be there right by your side. I will have bandages and medicine ready for you if you fall. And if you fall, I will be waiting with a popsicle, and I'll be ready to hold you and make sure that bad bike never hurts you again. That's a mercy. I also heard it when it comes to the pie illustration. You're out to eat. Maybe you're like, okay, Jeremiah, I really didn't get that. And I love this pie illustration. I can't remember where I heard this or where I even got this. But I remember it was, if you're sitting there and you're at dinner with a bunch of friends and you have that friend who's got that pie, and the pie is sitting dangerously close to the edge of the table. And you have this, I almost told you that was about to happen. You idiot. You shouldn't have done that. I saw it coming. How many of you do that? Don't point those out, and you just could have done even better. I don't know why you just let that fall on your plate. Fall off the table. If you reacted like that, you probably have the gift of prophecy. Or maybe you're like this. Oh man, let me help you clean that up. Here's a napkin. Let me go get some paper towels. Let me go get some wipes to clean that up for you. Man, I'm so sorry that happened. I might have a change of clothes in my car. If you would respond that way, you might be the gift of service. Maybe. Some of you might say, oh, man, I've researched this. You know, when it comes to eating apple pie, you've got to make sure that pie is 2 inches from the edge of the table. And you got to make sure, depending on whether you're left-handed or right-handed, you got to make sure that the angle of the fork is coming in at just the right angle so that you're not pushing the plate too close to you. You want to make sure that you're sitting straight up so that the food, when it falls, it's not going to fall on you, but it's going to fall on the table. Maybe if that's you, you're the gift of teaching. Or then you have this. oh man, that's how I feel. That's happened to me before. Don't worry about it. We all do it. We all have had that happen to us before. Man, I remember the last time I was eating, I dropped a whole piece of steak on my lap and ruined a brand new white shirt. But hey, it's okay. Wipe it up. We'll be fine. We'll laugh about it later. If that's you, you're probably a gift of encouragement. Or maybe this is you. Pie falls. Oh man, I'm so sorry. Hey, waiter, can we get another piece of pie over here? Just put it on my bill. I got it. As a matter of fact, I got everybody's pie today. Guys, I got all your desserts. If that's you, probably gift of giving. Then you got leadership. We can get this thing cleaned up in a matter of no time. Hey, why don't you over there, will you go get some more paper towels? Hey, will you go and get a new fork and a new plate? Will you make sure that the waiter knows that this mess is over here? And I'm going to make sure, hey, are you doing okay? Maybe if that's you, you're reacting, you're just getting ready to lead everybody, maybe you're a gift of leadership. Or your heart sinks as soon as you watch that piece of pie fall. Soon as you see it hit your friend's brand new white shirt, you are devastated and so sad for them. You know how much it meant for them to go out that night, and you know the plans of the rest of the night, and you know how it's going to impact them knowing that it's so messy and such a ruined shirt now, and you are so saddened for them. If that's you, you're probably a gift of mercy. So those are the gifts. To recap, prophecy is all about declaring the truth, wanting to make sure the truth is known and nothing but the truth. Service is all about practicing the truth, all about practicing it, serving and loving and come alongside others and helping others any way that you can. Teaching is at explaining the truth. You want to make sure that people understand it, that people understand what the truth is, and that you've taught them every bit that they can understand. Encouragement. Applying the truth. You want to be that cheerleader on the sideline, that cheerleader that is making sure that people are ready to go and they're just enjoying this life that they have. And then you have giving. If you are the gift of giving, you love to support the truth. The money that God has given you, you know that it's from the Lord and you love to give it away. You love to see God's kingdom grow. You love to see God's kingdom come, and you love to use the finances that God has given you to make his kingdom the best. Leading, you love to organize things. Somebody gives you the opportunity to organize, to put an event together, to put even books on a bookshelf. You love to organize. You love administration. You just love to see something come together and work smoothly. You gift of mercy. You love to minister to the truth. You just love to come alongside somebody and meet them in that hurt and meet them in that pain and love them where they are and help them know that you're going to walk with them that whole way. You love to minister to the truth. So what gift has God given you? We want to know. Let us know. And if you need more help understanding these, please reach out to us. We'd love to help you walk this walk, because part of our mission here at City View is we want to help you become who God is calling you to be. God loves you. Remember this, that God desires to use the gifts to make his church the best home possible. God bless.